Verdun is one of the free games on Epic this week. Originally released in early access in 2013 and then formally released on the PC in 2015, it's a World War I multiplayer squad-based shooter, focusing on trench warfare. The gameplay is based on a selection of game modes, most of which have very few players sadly, and the majority of people play the Frontlines game mode, which is where you progressively attack and defend points in turn to push the enemy back. The aim is attrition, much like real trench warfare, attempting to hold out until the enemy runs out of reinforcements. If, however, you manage to take over a section, your team then scores a point, and the most points at the end of the game win. The other game modes are Squad Defense, which is a team of 4 players as part of a 12-squad team, of which the rest are played by AI, and you defend against endless waves of enemies. Rifle Deathmatch is a free-for-all battle with rifles only, a skill-based game mode where aiming and marksmanship are key, eventually leveling up the rifle to attach a bayonet or scope. Finally, there is Attrition Warfare, which is a team-based deathmatch game where you gradually drop tickets of manpower as your team die, the aim being to die as little as possible while wiping out the other team, which is basically the same as the Frontlines game mode, only you don't go back and forth. In any game mode, one thing to say is expect to die a lot. Trench warfare was horrific and many players get cut down in no man's land before they ever reach the enemy team lines, so expect to do a lot of respawning. In terms of killing, the gunplay leans towards realism, although it's certainly far from perfect in that sense, but it has a very good attempt at the old rifles, which are pretty well represented. However, things like the pistols feel a little bit plasticky. Their wiki says there is bullet drop, but at the ranges I generally encountered people, I didn't find any. Initially I was actually overcompensating, expecting bullet drop, and thus was shooting slightly over targets' heads. Reloading is done very well and is very realistic for most of the weapons. You can't stick a full clip in a rifle that still has bullets in it, for example. You have to load it one at a time. And there are of course melee weapons for when things get up close and personal in trenches, which includes things like bayonets for rifles. In a squad there are 4 players. The NCO has command aura ability and also other abilities such as artillery, smoke, gas, recon, etc. All the classes have further weapons to unlock, so there's plenty to do if you can stick out the attrition warfare. However, the gameplay is marred quite a bit by the janky nature of movement. It is very common to get stuck on objects in the world map, and also on other players. I found myself randomly getting bounced up on top of objects when I got near them without pressing the jump key, putting me in dangerous positions without intending to be there. Verdun is obviously by a small development team and sadly lacks polish as a result. Graphically, this isn't the best looking game. It is an older game now and again was made by a small team, so I would never expect miracles. The actual landscapes and the general aesthetic are very good and really do give a feel of what trench warfare would be like with its washed out colours. I have somewhat mixed feelings about the animations of the troops dying, as they're crying or groaning on the floor, rolling around, holding their weapons and wounds, etc. A good representation of war, but not sure how needed it is in a video game. Moving on from that, the character models themselves and the animations leave a lot to be desired, and then the gun models, some of them are very detailed, but their animations are sometimes lacking. The muzzle flash is very poor, and the recoil is also fairly meh. Grenades and artillery explosions are again not very exciting, they don't look great. Sound in the game is a bit of a mixed bag, some of the sounds feel really solid, whereas others are quite disappointing. The general background sounds of warfare and explosions are not bad, but the guns sound tinny at times, and that's the only word that comes to mind for them. They don't always feel very satisfying to fire as a result, though some are definitely better than others. In summary, I really wanted to like Verdun. Over the past couple of days since I got back from my holiday, I've hopped in and out of games numerous times. I love the gritty nature of trench warfare, and I feel like Verdun captures this well in some ways, but its overall lack of polish, and in particular the janky movement, really ruined it for me. I enjoyed the gunplay, the one-hit one-kill for most weapons, and the fact that it rewards aiming and taking your time. You can't just run and gun. However, I think the nature of trench warfare will put a lot of people off. You are going to die plenty, and if you aren't used to the more realistic gunplay, you won't get many kills in return. Also, the other thing is, really it only has one game mode that people actually play in large numbers, and without variety, the attack and defend in attrition warfare gets kind of old pretty quickly. If you enjoy slightly more realistic gunplay, can pull up with the attrition style warfare, as in you're going to die a lot, then you might really enjoy Verdun, as long as you can get past the lack of polish. But if you're a fan of COD or Battlefield style games, then this might not be for you. Sadly, I find myself stuck at giving it a 2.5 out of 5 at most, for its good attempt at trench warfare aesthetics and its reasonable one-hit, one-kill gunplay, but it just falls short in other areas. Well, that's all for this week. Sorry this one's a bit later due to the holiday, but as always, please hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you all next week for some more reviews, and thanks very much for watching.